the opposition side. On one side, the BJP asked the Congress party as to why did Rahul Gandhi not begin the debate on the floor of the House, and on the other side, the opposition questioned that why is it that Prime Minister is not present. Well, we'll wait to hear from many such big speakers on the floor of the House, but one thing is abundantly clear, that as far as the number game is concerned, this no confidence motion is bound to fail. Then what is it that the opposition seeks to generate? Perhaps the right political noises and a political discourse that I.N.D.I.A wants in its favor. We are very close to the crucial assembly elections in the Hindi heartland, and who can forget the big battle of 2024. Much more to follow up in the next 2 days. That remains our focus here on CNN News 18, and that's the big topic to be debated on Viewpoint tonight.
बताइए, शहर का नाम
हिंदू सभ्यता संस्कृति में बिलीव कर रही है, इसीलिए अलौकिका पंडिता की तरह जो पूरा किताब में लिखा हुआ है कि क्या क्या करना चाहिए भारतीय नारी को, उसका पूरा का पूरा पिक्चर सोनिया जी देगी। उनको दो काम करना है, बेटे को सेट करना है।
आज आप लोग मणिपुर का नाम लेकर के, नॉर्थ ईस्ट का नाम लेकर के बार बार जो आप लोग बोल रहे हैं, काश आप लोग 2014 के पहले के परिस्थिति को याद करके, तो आपको आज नॉर्थ ईस्ट का नाम अपने जुबान पर लेने के लिए भी आपको सोचना पड़ना था।
प्रधानमंत्री महोदय ने एक मौन व्रत लिया कि सदन में ना लोकसभा में कुछ बोलेंगे, ना राज्यसभा में कुछ बोलेंगे, और इसीलिए अध्यक्ष महोदय ये नौबत आनी पड़ी कि हम अविश्वास प्रस्ताव के द्वारा प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी का मौन व्रत हम तोड़ना चाहते हैं।
जुमले पे जुमला, लाइक अमित शाह जी सच बोलते, आपकी बात साइड से बहुत कम। ये वो या गडकरी साहब बोले थे कि ये जुमला ये गले की हड्डी हो गया, ना नीचे जा रही है ना बाहर आ रही है। दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम।
और मैं सरकार से सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि सितंबर 2020 से जब से ये सदन मिला था कोविड के बाद, आज तक इस सदन में चीन के ऊपर चर्चा नहीं। क्या ऐसा हो सकता है कि ऐसी थिएटर लेवल की इंकर्शन हो, घुसपैठ हो और हमारे खुफिया तंत्र को पता ना लगे?
Well, it's a no confidence motion, and at the end of the day, it's about numbers. So let's tell you about the numbers. How do they stack up, and why are the numbers in favor of the government? Well, it doesn't require too much intelligence to guess that the NDA has the numbers on their side. They've been able to pass all the crucial bills that they have wanted so far. But the numbers in favor of the government at around 365. We told you here first on CNN News 18, the BJP alone at about 301. And there are different camps. The Shinde camp with 13, RLJP at 5, BJD at 12. You also have YSRCP at 22 and others at 12. That's the number government looking very strong with as far as the numbers is concerned in favor of the government, 365. That's how it stacks up. So government at 365, the majority mark is 272. They're very, very comfortable with that. As I said earlier, that if no confidence motion is only about the numbers, then the government is very comfortable. That's not their worry. The worry here for the government and the focus of the opposition with about 141 is that they want to get the political narrative somehow in their control, and narrative is something that defines how political developments are going to play out. Let's look at these numbers. The government, BJP at 301, you also have Shinde at 13, RLJP at 5, BJP at 12, YSRCP at 22 and others at 12, undecided 32. But it's not crucial or critical here, keeping in mind that the government already has the numbers that it requires to defeat this no confidence motion. Opposition standing at 141, I.N.D.I.A, that united opposition, that united coalition which is there, and wants to present a narrative together against the government. Their focus has been largely to ensure that somehow issues like Manipur and various other issues like price rise come to the center, come to be debated. Well, will this entire discourse by the opposition parties really stick? Can they really see this through? And will they be able to get the message right to the people? I want to cut across to our guests who are joining us on the broadcast. Sanila Singh of the BJP is with us on the show. We also have I.N.D.I.A Mathur, who's the spokesperson of the I.N.D.I.A Party. We'll also have other guests joining us. But good evening to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us. I.N.D.I.A, first to you. Yesterday was a very important day on the floor of the House, and a crucial bill which the Aam Aadmi Party is staunchly against was passed. And the government was able to get through the bill with decisive numbers. There's no confidence motion here. The worry of the government is not about the numbers. The opposition is trying to get the narrative in their favor. How confident are you that this new energized opposition will be able to take on the giant machinery of the BJP?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, first of all, the opposition is not trying to build a narrative in our favor. Most importantly, we want the Prime Minister of India to come to the Parliament, a Parliament for which he has spent so much money, our money, taxpayers' money, and he celebrated its inauguration with so much fun and flair, and now we want him to, be present in the Parliament and address the Parliament, and through it address the people of this country. Address the representatives of the country and talk about Manipur and many other pressing problems that the country has. So if, we are hoping that if Pradhan Mantri ji and, is kind enough to step into the Parliament that he built with so much hoo-ha, then that should be good enough for now. We really need the Prime Minister who's absent from the Parliament to at least show up, and which is why we've had to call a no confidence motion. As far as the narrative is concerned, honestly, it's for everybody to see what is happening. Do you think that the people of this country are not realizing what kind of vendetta politics the BJP is doing today?
Yeah.
Do you think that they don't realize that the BJP is trying to crush the opposition completely, intimidate them? Their parliamentarians in parliament, on the floor of parliament, are saying things like "Chup ho jao, nahi to ED bhej denge." Just imagine the kind of, gundagardi, so to speak, BJP is doing, and the whole country can see it, So not everybody might be speaking against them at the moment, but I'm sure people will speak with their votes in 2024.
The Janata Janardhan, when they cast their votes, will decide. We are also joined by Mr. Sulaiman Mohammed Khan of the Congress Party and Mr. Rajgopalan, who is a senior journalist. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the broadcast. Anila ji, I want you to respond to what the Aam Aadmi Party is saying. It's not just the narrative. They believe that with the pressing issues, the opposition will be able to counter the government.
My Ram to all, and I was very well listening to Ms. Mathur, and in such humble way and in such simple way, she said, see, Parliament was not working and the money was going all out in the drain. I have to tell her, our money, your money, my money. So I have to tell her, Ms. Mathur, first of all, check your facts. If you talk about taxpayers' money, then go and tell your leader, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, why he has dudded so much of money in the renovation of the Sarkari Makan which he has got, because in next term he will be ousted as a chief minister. This is what Bharatiya Janata Party or the NDA kept on saying, keeps on saying, that why don't you let the Parliament work? Parliament is one place where policy should be discussed, debated. But somehow the opposition party, the new allied partners of I.N.D.I.A, they said, okay, hum nahi chalne denge. Bhaad mein jaye janta, hamara kaam banta. This was the attitude of this alliance. Now they have forced this no confidence motion. They know it very well that they are not going to stand anywhere near NDA. Yet they want to waste time and money of this nation. They are doing that. So whole of the country knows that Narendra Modi ji is the Prime Minister who has worked so much for Northeast.
So Anila ji, you very candidly believe that this is surely a waste of time. That's what you're arguing. I'll take the Congress Party spokesperson also on this issue. Sulaiman ji, it's abundantly clear that the numbers are in favor of the BJP. Then what is it that the opposition is trying to achieve?
No, opposition has I think the most important responsibility. And the responsibility is to question the government on issues on which the government completely fails. Any issue, it can be any issue. The major issue today is on which this no confidence motion has been moved by the Congress Party, including the other opposition parties, what we call as India. So the issue was Manipur. Manipur was burning for 80 days. But the Prime Minister was maintaining a deafening silence on the issue. Is Manipur out of India? Are people of Manipur not our people? What does this government think? Why the Prime Minister does not speak for 80 days? why he has not visited Manipur, and why he has not removed the Chief Minister Biren
No,
Singh.
but Suleimanji,
He has been
I take
visiting.
those points, and those are very valid questions that the opposition
One
parties are
thing.
raising. I'm not wasting a second to say that these are not pertinent issues. These are very critical national and internal security issues. But this is not just a debate on Manipur. This is a no confidence motion.
Yes,
and,
it is.
And it's bound to be defeated, keeping in mind that the numbers are in favor of the BJP or the NDA.
Madam, with due respect to you and to your political understanding, completely, it doesn't matter that this motion is defeated or becomes successful.
Why is it not important, sir? Why don't you augment my political understanding?
Madam, no, I am not commenting your understanding. I am sorry.
Yes.
With most humbleness, I am not passing any comment. I am sorry if you have understood that.
No.
I'm just saying that, we have a responsibility. It doesn't matter that this motion passes through or get defeated. The important thing which matters is that the Prime Minister was nowhere on the scene. He was not speaking. He was in America. He was in France. When your home is burning, you are doing diplomacy in France and America. You have to. If my house burns, I'll go on something. What is more important than my own house? Just see.
And
Just look at your
sir,
house.
the statements that you're making are pretty consistent. Yes, finish your point. Finish your point. Yes, finish your point.
This confidence motion, which we have been pressing since 25th of July, generally when the no confidence motion is moved against the government, all business is suspended. This government has broken that precedent also. They passed their bill by force. They were not allowing the house to function. They have blocked the proceeding of the house. And finally, this now no confidence motion has been, started discussion. Let's see what the Prime Minister said. It doesn't matter.
Okay,
What will be the fate of
You've made your point. Mr. Rajgopalan is a very senior journalist. He's also with us on the broadcast. Mr. Rajgopalan, do you agree with that understanding that it doesn't matter what the fate of the no confidence motion is? And in your understanding, what is the united opposition trying to achieve through this debate and discussion?
They have spoiled the 10 days. That is what my understanding. Because you wait and watch, Anusha Soniji. Government is passing bills, but opposition says they are stalling the house. What a contradiction. And opposition has no focus. They say 167 rule. In Rajya Sabha, that rule is different. In 267 in Lok Sabha, that rule is different. But they want to insist that Prime Minister should come. Now they diluted that. Because Prime Minister, there is no way in the rules there is a mention that Prime Minister should initiate the discussion in either in 267 or 165. So my understanding is they brought no confidence motion.
Suleimanji, I'll come to you. Let him finish his point. Yes, Mr. Rajgopalan.
Thereby, government was to be critically examined. There is a question aware. There is a short notice. There is a calling attention motion. Why opposition failed in that? Because there is no unity. There is no unity in opposition. And ruling parties enjoy.
Mr. Rajgopalan, I want both Abhinandita and Suleimanji to respond to that. Abhinandita, first to you, then I'll go to the Congress party.
Look, first of all, I don't agree with Mr. Rajgopalan as usual, with due respect, because I think his view is very, very biased, especially in this context. I don't think that there is any...
Rajgopalanji, let her make a point.
Assume and presume that
40 years of service in Lok Sabha,
whether or not the opposition...
One second. Let me clarify it here. Abhinandita, 1 second.
The fact of the matter,
this is not a personal comment which has been made. She's expressed a view about your views on a particular subject, and I believe that should be
because of the rules.
Yes.
Because of the rules.
Why don't you listen to her argument and then I'll come back to you. Abhinandita, make your argument.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that I don't think it is any longer about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opposition parties. It's not about just the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress and the Samajwadi Party and so on. I think what is happening is that there is a genuine sentiment of discontent from the Modi government. People are fed up. And people of India are now coming together to basically defeat this NDA. And whether or not, we succeed, time will tell. But certainly the pulse of the people says this, the pulse of the people on the ground are
Abhinandita, I want you to respond to this argument.
They are very...
that was said very candidly by Mr. Rajgopalan. He said this is a waste of time because there is crucial business which is happening in the House and those subjects are not being taken up for debate. Instead, this debate has somehow come to be, an opportunity for all political parties to propagate their political agendas, but not a serious debate and discussion that should happen on the floor of the House. Abhinandita.
Look, historically in our democracy, the parliament has played a very critical role, not only in passing laws but also in actually representing what the people think, in representing the will of the people, in making sure that certain arguments or discussions are done in the parliament. And that way I think the opposition is playing an incredible role at the moment, for, forcing the Prime Minister to come to the parliament. There is no reason, if he has all the time in the world to, visit other countries and address their parliaments, for God's sake, make a press conference here, attend a parliament here.
You've made your point. You've made your point. I need to bring in Mr.
In that
Rajgopalan
sense,
and then Anila.
I don't think it is a waste of time at all. I think
you've made your point. Mr. Rajgopalan, a quick rebuttal from you and then Congress and the BJP, please. Yes.
What a climb down of opposition. They said Prime Minister should come. There is no mention in the rules, 167 or 265, that Prime Minister should come. Now they have accepted the no confidence motion. Now, my point is, why did you waste the question hour? Why did you waste the 0 hour? Why are you wasting the, call attention notice? 10 days, opposition wasted the parliament
have
time.
you seen
1
how
hour
the
it is.
honorable-
One at a time. One at a time. Suleimanji, Congress Party, can I please have the Congress Party? Suleimanji, a quick point from you. A quick point from
2
you.
crore rupees wasted.
Mr. Rajgopalan, you've made your point. You've made your point. Yes, Mr. Suleiman, please go ahead. Make your point.
I say Mr. Rajgopalan ji should become a spokesperson of the
No,
BJP.
but one
One
second, sir. But I think these are personal attacks. I mean, you might not agree with the view. One second, sir. Hear me out. Sir, hear me out. I might find your views very biased, or you might find my views very biased.
No,
But to tell somebody to go and become a spokesperson, I think that's a very personal comment. Yes,
Why
please go.
did you waste parliament time? Why did you waste parliament time?
That's a side, sir. That's a
Because
side. Mr.
it's a
Suleiman,
fact,
please go ahead and
it's
make a
fact.
point. Yes.
Madam, it's a fact that the party in power is responsible for running the parliament. They
Absolutely.
were blocking the parliament. From first day we have been saying have a discussion on Manipur under Rule 267. Suspend all business. They have not done it. They have not done it. Parliament time was wasted because of the government for the first time in the history.
No,
For past
how
9
was it
years, we
wasted
have
because
seen-
of the government? How was it wasted because of the government?
Last 9 years we have seen every time the government is uncomfortable on discussion in which the opposition is going to ask questions to them. They block the parliament, did not allow the parliament to function. We have seen this on Rafale, we have seen this on this and many other issues. Pegasus we have seen on this Manipur. And finally, when some order, they passed the bill under, without any discussion. Important bills have been passed in this session.
Okay, I have
they
to bring in
haven't done a
BJP into
discussion
the
on
discussion.
Manipur. And
Anilaji,
one
one
last
thing
point.
is being
Anusha,
repeatedly.
last point.
Last point.
One
Make your point. Yes.
last point. Why Mr. Gopalachari is saying there is no rule that Prime Minister should open the debate. Who is the Prime Minister? He is the citizen of the country.
Point well made. Anilaji, one thing which is being repeatedly said in this discussion is, both by the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party, that we wanted the Prime Minister to come forward and make a statement on the floor of the House, and the opposition has succeeded in doing so because somewhere the authority was running away from its responsibility. Tell us about that, counter that argument.
I have a simple question from both of them, that in our democracy, which is more powerful, which is more respected, Prime Minister or citizens of this country? So the citizens of this country or the voters of this country, when they wanted that there should be debate, there should be discussion in the parliament, why this dotted I.N.D.I.A. allied partners didn't allow parliament to work? It is their fault. They said, अभी मैं सुन रही थी सुलेमान जी कह रहे थे कि नहीं ये तो जिम्मेवारी जो होती है सत्ताधारी सरकार की होती बिल्कुल होती है साहब, but at what point? Protest, gun point, you want to protest, you want to create ruckus, mayhem inside the parliament. Then honorable chair, they like Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, both of them, they have to ask these members that you please go out. In this way, parliament can't function. This is the way of working of this dotted India allied partners. And two things Mr. Suleiman and Ms. Mathur has to say, that today morning, Rahul Gandhi ji was supposed to do the debate, to open the debate. Okay, 11:55, a letter comes and it intimates Rahul ji जो है ना वो debate नहीं करेंगे. क्या मसला है? And one of the allied partners.
अनिला जी, आप कांग्रेस के सूत्र तो ये भी कह रहे हैं कि राहुल गांधी तभी बोलेंगे जब प्रधानमंत्री सदन में मौजूद होंगे. वो तो ये भी कह रहे हैं.
One more thing they have to answer, that in yesterday's debate, when voting had to happen for ordinance, Delhi service bill, one of the allied partner, he was not there. He was not there. He was not there on the floor to vote. Abhi se itna kamzor ho gaya. What you're talking about? Whole of the nation knows the reality.
All right, Suleiman ji, I'm sure you want to respond. You're raising your hand. Go ahead.
The whole problem is, there are two things which the whole problem is Rahul Gandhi. When he will speak, why he has not spoken, where he is going. The problem is Rahul Gandhi ji is asking such, pointed questions to the government that it's troubling the Prime Minister.
नहीं, but Suleiman जी ये सवाल का जवाब दे दीजिए ना बीजेपी को कि आज राहुल गांधी सदन में मौजूद क्यों नहीं थे? That's what Anila Singh is asking, that he was supposed to open the debate. Why didn't that happen? And I asked them the question about the Prime Minister as well. I'll ask that again to the BJP. But this question is for you. Yes.
Very, very good question. I asked 3 questions. We have been asking for 100 days now. Why has the Prime Minister not visited Manipur? Why is was silent for 80 days, and why he has not removed the Chief Minister, and why he is in France and America? His house is burning. These are the questions. Question is not that Rahul Gandhi was not for a day in the parliament. He was not in the parliament for 4 months, and we know why. Government has to reply. Opposition is being put in the witness box.
Nobody is putting the opposition in the witness box.
Nobody who has seen those videos of women naked being paraded on the streets and being actually humiliated, harassed, sexually assaulted.
So even when you talk about that incident and that video, it riles me up as a woman to think about it. And it was a very disturbing video and incident that had come to light. None other than the Supreme Court has taken cognizance of it. Yes. But let's keep the debate focused. Let's keep the debate focused to what's happening on the floor of the House. Anila ji, a pointed question which has been repeatedly asked by the opposition on the issue of Manipur over the statement of the Prime Minister, and why is the BJP so obsessed with Rahul Gandhi? That's what Congress is asking you. Respond to that, Anila ji.
Oh, we are so much obsessed with Rahul Gandhi ji. That is why we wanted him to see.
Suleiman ji, let her make a point. No. Let her make a point one at a time. Anila Singh, please. Yes.
This is what I am saying. हाँ, हम बहुत obsessed हैं. हम तो चाहते हैं कि राहुल गांधी को हम हर वक्त पार्लियामेंट में देखें. But as he is a habitual offender of giving wrong statements, similarly, he has a habit of being absent from the parliament. Nothing new about it. Like if you check out the data, you will come to know about his presence in the parliament. He is a non-serious parliamentarian.
But then Anila ji, he's not important. No, he's not important. But Anila ji, he's not important. I'm saying it as bluntly as possible. Suleiman ji, one second, one at a time.
A child who wants to study humanities, they are forcing him to study science.
But one second. This debate should not get.
How many press conferences Prime Minister Modi has done? How many press conferences? None.
All right. Why don't you both hold your arguments for a second? Abhinandita ji, please come into the discussion. Manipur is something that the opposition has tried to highlight through this issue, a very, very important and critical issue. The opposition has repeatedly demanded that the Prime Minister should make statement on floor of the House. As this debate and discussion ensues on the floor of the House, the next 2 days are going to be very critical to watch out for. What are the key questions you're seeking answers from the government? Is there a pointed agenda that the united opposition or the I.N.D.I.A has?
Absolutely. The united opposition does have an agenda. But before that, I'd like to tell Anila ji, and obviously I'm not, I'm not disappointed because this is her leader, but actually my own Prime Minister has spent barely 15 hours in the parliament in the last couple of years, right? And that is an incredibly low time for any Prime Minister to spend in the parliament. He comes to the parliament when he wants to inaugurate it. He comes to the parliament when he wants to say something or insult somebody or misuse the floor of the house. I am very sorry to say this, but that is the fact. So I don't think that, the BJP should even point fingers at any other party.
Something about Raghav Chadda.
One second.
Unfortunately, the Prime Minister's attendance is very,
One second.
very
Analaji, I'll give you the
now to
opportunity
answer your question.
Something about him as well.
Now to answer your question about what the opposition leaders, what are the issues that they are going to raise. First thing first, we want to ask questions about Manipur. A, Manipur is a border state. 2, Manipur is an integral part of the country that may have been neglected for years and years, and Mr. Modi claimed that he is going to create inclusion like never before. And 3, of course, the kind of violence that has happened against women.
Yes, Mr. Rajgopalan, I'm coming to you after
Not to undermine the violence against women in any other place, but what has happened in Manipur is shameful and extraordinary.
Okay.
So the Manipur being one reason, the other is inflation. I mean, for God's sake, you have not got a raise. How many people in this country have jobs now or have got a raise in their jobs? But look at inflation. Tomato is like 250 rupees a kilo.
All right.
Did we ever think that? Do you think that people are able to
Manipur,
buy toys for their children?
That the opposition wants to highlight. Mr. Rajgopalan,
GST on dahi
both
and
these
paneer.
issues that I.N.D.I.A is talking about are very serious issue. Manipur, of course, nobody can underplay the seriousness or the importance of that issue. It's an internal security issue. But do you think the opposition will be able to set the narrative right or bring the focus of the government and the political debate on these issues through this no confidence motion on the floor of the House? Mr. Rajgopalan.
The parliament consists of opposition and ruling party Anusha. And opposition has got every right to corner the government on question of it. Why did they fail? Even on Prime Minister, whether he comes or not, why can't the debate start? Because whenever Prime Minister spoke in Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha for the last 4 sessions, they drowned him. If you remember in Rajya Sabha, when Prime Minister spoke, "Main akele sabko bhari." Why did he say that? Because the entire opposition wanted Prime Minister voice to be drowned. That is why he is taking this type of attitude. And whenever Prime Minister comes, the opposition wants to trouble him. When you have 303 MPs, why should this Rahul Gandhi say about the Prime Minister?
Mr. Rajgopalan, you have made your point. I'm short of time. 30 seconds to the Congress party for a quick response before I end the discussion.
I am completely shocked with the way Rajgopalacharya ji and Anila ji have defended the Prime Minister. Prime
What
Minister
else we can do?
One at a time. 30 seconds to the Congress party. Yes.
Because you spoiled the session.
No, the Prime Minister.
Mr. Rajgopalan, please listen to him. I have not allowed anybody to interrupt you. The same courtesy is extended to all the guests. The Congress party, please. The Congress party, please. Yes.
A press conference, he will not speak in the parliament. Who stops him? Why is running away? Why is so scared?
Why you can't talk in parliament? The same thing. Why can't your leader talk the same thing in parliament?
That's all the time that I have, but this no confidence motion, as far as the numbers are concerned, is set to be defeated. And as I.N.D.I.A and the Congress party and Mr. Soleimanji pointed out, this motion is about the opposition trying to bring forth some critical issues on which they want the Prime Minister to speak. Let's see how that really pans out. The next 2 days are going to be very interesting to watch out for. I thank all my panelists for joining us on the show tonight on Viewpoint Tonight. Right now, there's a breaking bit of news which is coming in. We are shifting our focus to that. This is about the Manipur police filing an FIR against the Assam Rifles. This is a big development that we report at this point in time, that the Manipur police, this is a probe which is ongoing right now, and Manipur police has filed an FIR against the Assam Rifles. They've been accused of blocking the police when they were chasing militants during the violence. That's the big piece of news coming in. This FIR is blocking action on the militants. It's an important bit of development coming in. Kamalika with us on the broadcast. Kamalika, give us more details.
See, this FIR has been filed by I.N.D.I.A Singh, who is officer in charge of Phugakchau Ikai police station, which is in Bishnupur district. Now, what happened on Saturday? There were 3 Metis were killed in Bishnupur area, in this Kwakta area, in Foljang village. They were killed in the early hours of the morning when they were sleeping. They were fired. So, allegation was that the Kuki people came from the other side and they killed them. That was the allegation against the Kuki people.
Right.
Now, what the police has lodged in FIR, the Manipur police, is that when they got this information and when they were trying to search for the Kuki people out in ward number 8 of Kokta, that point of time, according to Manipur police, the Assam Rifles did not allow them. They are writing in their complaint that on reaching Kutub Wali Masjid, which is located in Kokta ward 8, roadside, the state police, including the CDO and BPR, was stopped and blocked their way by the personnel of 9th Assam Rifles Battalion by keeping parking their Casper vehicles in the middle of Kokta road and obstructed in discharging their law-bound duty. Now, this is a very big allegation against the Assam Rifles.
Indeed.
And there was this video which also went viral on Saturday, which shows that there was a heated discussion going on between the Manipur police and the Assam Rifles. So the difference between the Manipur police and Assam Rifles is now split wide open.
It's split wide open, and this has very serious ramifications for the internal security of the state of Manipur. Assam Rifles versus the state police. Even earlier this narrative and the instances like this have been reported, and we hope this is nipped in the bud. We're slipping into a very short break, but up next on the other side, the political storm rages over NewsClick scandal. Once again, the BJP versus the opposition in a bitter war of words. On the other side, here on Viewpoint.
Go Power.
सर, आपकी इजाजत हो तो मैं यहां से बोलना चाहता हूं सर। अध्यक्ष महोदय, मुझे लगता था कि अविश्वास प्रस्ताव पर राहुल जी बोलेंगे, कांग्रेस के मित्र बोलेंगे और कोई बहुत बड़ा विषय होगा जिसके आधार पर कि रूल्स का फायदा उठाते हुए
माननीय सदस्य ने पूरी बात कही है, ऐसे नहीं चलेगा, प्लीज बैठिए।
इसके बाद राहुल जी भी नहीं बोल पाएंगे और कोई अपोजिशन का आदमी नहीं बोल पाएगा। मैंने धैर्यपूर्वक सुना है, आप मुझे धैर्यपूर्वक सुनिए।
निशिकांत जी,
अध्यक्ष महोदय, अध्यक्ष महोदय, फिर ये नहीं चलेगा हाउस। यदि वो हल्ला करेंगे, ये हाउस नहीं चलेगा, ये हाउस नहीं चलेगा, ये हाउस नहीं चलेगा।
एक प्लीज, एक मिनट प्लीज, प्लीज 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 प्लीज, आपको मैंने अलाउ नहीं किया है, प्लीज। माननीय सदस्यगण, ये महत्वपूर्ण डिबेट है और महत्वपूर्ण डिबेट में आपके माननीय सदस्य ने पूरी बात कही है, सबने पूरी ध्यानपूर्वक सुनी है। अब निशिकांत जी बोल रहे हैं, आप इस तरीके से डिस्टर्बेंस करना ठीक नहीं है सदन की तरफ। बाली निशिकांत जी।
अध्यक्ष महोदय, अभी मणिपुर की बड़ी चर्चा हुई। सबसे पहले तो मैं इस अविश्वास प्रस्ताव के विरोध के लिए खड़ा हुआ। मैं अपने पार्टी के नेतृत्वकर्ता आदरणीय मोदी जी और पूरे पार्टी का शुक्रगुजार हूं कि इतने महत्वपूर्ण बिल पर पार्टी ने मुझे बोलने के लिए खड़ा किया। अभी मैंने गौरव गोगोई को सुना सर।
एक मिनट माननीय सदस्य प्लीज बैठिए, प्लीज बैठिए, बैठिए। नो कॉन्फिडेंस में चर्चा नहीं करना चाहते आप? बैठिए, मैं बताता हूं आपको। माननीय सदस्यगण, अब प्लीज माननीय सदस्यगण, आपको पता है कि लोकसभा और राज्यसभा टीवी को मिलाकर संसद टीवी कर दिया है, ठीक है ना? एक मिनट, पहले संसद टीवी नहीं था तो लोकसभा लाइव होता था और राज्यसभा अलग से लाइव होता था। आपने कोई विशेष ध्यान में डाला है, मैं उसको संज्ञान में लूंगा।
Welcome back. You're watching Viewpoint. The political storm over NewsClick scandal that continues to rage. The fireworks were seen in Parliament, where BJP's I.N.D.I.A reiterated the allegations of links between the Congress Party and the Communist Party of India, accusing the Grand Old Party of quote-unquote anti-India campaign, which were run by this organization called NewsClick. Now, Dubey, while speaking in Lok Sabha, also alleged the involvement of former CPIM chief Prakash Karat in supporting the Chinese-funded agenda. Those are allegations that were made on the floor of the House. BJP has even circulated an email between the NewsClick founder Prabir Purkayastha and US media mogul Neval Roy Singham, claiming that Singham coached the editor to peddle Chinese propaganda. Dubey stated that Prakash Karat even exchanged several emails with Singham, who funded the media portal NewsClick to propagate far-left ideology across the country. First, listen in to what was said on this issue on the floor of the House.
2017 में जब डोकलाम हो रहा था, उस डोकलाम के समय सर ये चाइनीज के साथ बातचीत कर रहे थे। मेरा भारत सरकार से आग्रह है कि जितनी भी फंडिंग हुई है कांग्रेस के, जितनी भी चाइना ने फंडिंग की है, जांच की जाए।
अगर मैं कहूं तो कांग्रेस, चीन, न्यूज़क्लिक सभी एक भारत विरोधी गर्भनाल से जुड़े हुए हैं।
हम तो पहले सोचते थे सिर्फ कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी चाइना और रशिया के इशारे पे चलती है। फिर ध्यान में आया 2007-8 में कांग्रेस के परमानेंटली युवा नेता भी चाइना के इशारे पे चलते हैं, उनके साथ MOU करते हैं, उनके कहने पे, उनके इशारों पे नीतियां बनाते हैं।
Utterly shocking for a number of reasons. First of all, the acting chair had asked ministers to lay papers on the table. But Nishikant Dubey's mic was switched on, and his mic was on throughout his rant, where he made defamatory and libelous accusations against the Congress party and against Rahul Gandhi. That has to be expunged from the record, and we have unanimously signed a letter demanding that the speaker should expunge this, delete these words.
और सदन के अंदर जब मंत्रियों को बुलाए जाते हैं माइक पे, तो मंत्री की माइक नहीं चलते, लेकिन वो सदस्यों की माइक चलते, जिस सदस्यों ने एक ओछी तरीके से और घटिया बयान पेश कर रहे थे जिसका कोई आधार नहीं, कोई तथ्य नहीं है।
Well, what this row is all about and what exactly are the allegations that have been made? What are these emails that have come to public light? Let's tell you about them one to one. Now, this I.N.D.I.A scandal has been in the limelight when this organization was raided by the Enforcement Directorate, and recently a detailed report by the New York Times. There's an alleged email between Singham, the NewsClick, somebody who's funding this organization, and this alleged email is between certain people. Purkayastha, who runs this website here in this country. BJP claims that Singham was tutoring the likes of Purkayastha, who were running NewsClick here in India, to run a propaganda, quote unquote, which is sympathetic of the Communist Party of China. BJP also argues that NewsClick founder, he tutored on CCP propaganda as something which this particular gentleman is very well known across the world. If you read that New York Times report, it tells you how this propaganda is furthered across the world. The BJP also alleges email dates back to March 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, when the pandemic had started to happen. There are certain emails which were trying to tutor a propaganda that, look, China is handling it so well, unlike US and India. All these emails point out that this was not a news portal that was running in India, but in fact had precarious and malified intent when it was running its business here in India. In fact, that Enforcement Directorate had raided it. At that time, there were various questions that were raised by the opposition parties, including the Congress party, that is this an attack on the freedom of expression and free press in this country? While free press and the idea of free press is very central to any democracy and freedom of expression in this country, but that cannot be used as a subterfuge, as a garb to run these kinds of propaganda or to run these organizations in this country. Joining us to take this discussion forward is Anila Singh, who's a spokesperson of the BJP, Girija Shetkar, who's a spokesperson of the Congress party, is also with us on the broadcast. Mr. R. Raj Gopalan, who's a senior journalist, is also with us on the broadcast. Thank you all for joining us on Viewpoint tonight. Girija ji, first to you, and I reiterated this question yesterday as well when we discussed the story, that when the Congress party issued a statement on NewsClick, in hindsight, do you think it could have been best avoided?
We have, as a party, we have nothing to hide and have no association with the NewsLink. So we don't think, acting to their allegations, why are these people giving press conferences instead of raiding, and if they think it is malicious and seditious and anti-national, instead of giving these press conferences, Mr. Anurag Thakur, who is the IT minister, should go and focus on the national interest instead of accusing the Congress party, which has no links to the NewsLink.
No, at no point I'm saying that the Congress party has any links. All the allegations that were made on the floor of the House or by the BJP are largely about the left parties. That's a separate matter. But there are tweets which date back to the time when the Enforcement Directorate raids were conducted. Tweets by the likes of Mr. Randeep Surjewala, who heads your media department in the Congress party. When these raids were happening, it was called an attack on the freedom of free speech and expression. And that's where the BJP is attacking you, ma'am.
Yeah, so we as a Congress party believe in the freedom of speech and we would defend most and any news channel who have a voice. But if you think it is against the national interest and you find any nefarious activities, you are free to investigate any news agencies. Did you take our permission when you investigate the BBC news channel? And what about the other, when the COVID data was interpreted right by the Dainik Bhaskar? Even then the government went and raided this. And we also know when the big corporate took place, when Ravish Kumar was a big culprit in all this. So when the government doesn't need our
ma'am, let me say it very openly that it's great that the opposition in this country raises issues whenever the opposition thinks that there is an assault of freedom of free speech and expression in this country, a fundamental right guarded under Article 19 of this country. That's not the point that I'm making here. The point which I'm making here is that these are serious allegations which have been made by the BJP, which deserve an answer from the Congress party, that when the Congress party supported an organization like NewsClick, which the New York Times claims that is funded by a person who's known to run the Chinese propaganda, and Chinese are not the friendliest to us, at least at this point in time, then these kind of linkages to such people, individuals or organization, does this behove the opposition in this country?
See, it's not that we only support NewsLink. And if we took a stand back then, just for the freedom of speech, and if as government you have an extra information that there is some seditious activity by this channel, you are free to conduct an independent investigation. Why do you need some New York Times keep telling you that there is some nefarious activity? If you and your intelligence can brood over it and have an investigation and prove your allegations, we as an opposition, we just want to protect the freedom of speech. So when we supported and we said something pro the news link, it is because we're just protecting freedom. It is not that we are completely supporting the news
But
link.
you are the biggest opposition party in the country. Shouldn't you be careful about who are you really defending now?
Yeah, I agree. So when this was raided in 2021, and if you have found any allegations or any proof that this was done, then why you have every right to block the news site?
All right.
Why
A quick word from Anila Singh and Mr. Rajgopalan as well. Anila ji, do you find this explanation plausible? The Congress party is saying, look, we didn't even know about these linkages, or these details were not available in the public domain at that point in time. We just did the job of what an opposition party does. Anila ji.
My Ram Ram to all, and just now I was listening to Ms. Girja and she was saying, oh, Congress party leaders were exercising the right which has been given to them, right to speech, which is given to them by our constitution. This is bizarre, this is horrible, this is nauseous. What right of speech you are talking about? You are advocating, when I say you, it means Congress party. You are advocating a nexus in between Congress party, CPIM, some of the journalists, and this person, Singham, and the Chinese. This is what the nexus is. And this rot was already exposed by Indian agencies in 2021. But the stench of this rot is so overwhelming that now in New York Times, it has been published that how this NewsClick has been involved in this rot, which is including India and USA as well.
Anila ji, I take that point. I take that point. But my question to you is, and you saw what I asked the Congress party as well. My question to you is that if the government had any inkling or inclination that this is not just about tax evasion, wrongful funding, or the violation of the how money can come overseas, or the or money laundering provision, but this directly concerns national security, then why weren't adequate and strict action taken at that point in time? In law, there are far more stringent sections under which this particular organization could have been prosecuted.
Absolutely. This is what Indian government is doing. In 21, when this thing was exposed, raids happened and investigative agencies, they are preparing each and everything. Like you can't simply go and say, okay, from today, your organization, your office will be shut down. It can't happen in democratic structure. But the reality is, since the I.N.D.I.A government has been exposing this nexus of Congress party, CPIM, these few journalists and the Chinese, they are so rattled. They are so rattled. That is why they all have clubbed now against Modi ji.
All right, Mr. Rajgopalan, I believe the details that have emerged in New York Times are very, very worrying, keeping in mind the manner in which Chinese propaganda is being spread in India. The organizations like NewsClick is just the tip of the iceberg. Yes, it's important to ask the BJP and the Congress party the right questions, but as a journalist, does it worry you the kind of funding which is coming into India and the manner in which this funding is camouflaged, and you can't really make out that this is, a propaganda coming in from the Chinese?
It is much worrying, madam. In politics, you can speak anything. But in media, having spent 40 years in this time, paid news was, the election commission took it up on its head, paid news during elections. Now, this is another foreign paid news. Why should Indian news agency or a portal succumb to the pressure of a foreign company or a foreign investor or a foreign contributor? My understanding is the social media has created a division in the print journalism and media journalism, because in India, madam, I split this into three parts. One, Congress is silent from the political angle, because Congress should, suppose if they raided and arrested, they will say press freedom, press freedom, press freedom. Today they will say they must have been arrested. A second thing, why should Prakash Karat, the Central General Secretary of CPM, have an exchange of views on email officially as a CPM General Secretary, why should he indulge in anti-Indian activity? Third, social media has split the Indian media, not only Indian media, madam. You are a journalist, I am a journalist. And in India, the social media like Facebook, Twitter, everything can be put on. Even Manipur issue, one social media created and Red
Right.
Diary, Rajasthan politics. Similarly, the social media, 140 crore journalists are there in India, 140 crore photographers are in India, because you take a photo and publish it. You write something and put it. So that is why the NewsClick organization should be taken very seriously.
And so
Government should do it.
I get the broad point that you're making, but if one reads about that New York Times report and Neville Roy Singham and the kind of activities his organization has been involved in doing across the world, not just here in India, it's a very systematic and an organized approach which has been adopted with the funding of billions which is flowing in. Anilaji, this is one serious question for the government. Let's keep the Congress party aside what they did right and wrong. Questions are being asked to them about the stand that they had taken, which I already did. The question for the government is that if this kind of propaganda and if this kind of machinery is working in India, the government needs to take a serious cognizance as to how this money is flowing in. And more importantly, if the Chinese propaganda is so well organized, our ways and methods to deal with it need to be a step ahead. We have had certain security experts who have pointed out that India is much far behind when it comes to the information warfare, and we have perhaps not taken it as seriously as we should have.
No, it is not like that. And investigative agencies in India, they are working fantastically. That is why, you know, when NewsClick got this money, this amount from the foreign land, so the agencies, they asked that your company is loss-making company. Then how come you have got so much of money? He said, like per share, it was sold of rupees 11,510, and he gave some sort of vague answer on that. But that is why investigative agencies have got the proof. They are working on it, and we have got 100% faith. That is why, you know, these toolkits, they keep on popping up. During the farmers' agitation at that time, whenever there is the latest one was restless protest agitation, you know, this toolkit comes up, and across continents, you know, they start malicing Narendra Modi ji's name. This is the agenda, because under Narendra Modi ji, we are not allowing any wrong happening for this nation.
All right.
This is the problem with this I.N.D.I.A, dotted I.N.D.I.A.
Girija ji, the question here, let's move forward from the argument of what the Congress party said when those raids were made. I take your argument that at that point you did not know about these nefarious designs, so these details were not open in public. But the bigger question which is there, which BJP asks you repeatedly, is that why is Congress party seen sympathetic to the Chinese Communist Party? And this is also asked with a certain narrative that hints, and I'm quoting them, with an anti-India narrative that the Congress party supports. The fact what Mr. Rajgopalan spoke of, that why is it that Mr. Karath is in an email conversation about what kind of news should be run across the country, and these are also organizations which are running a Chinese propaganda. It raises serious questions, and I say it out aloud, on the credibility of the opposition parties and the intent with which they are working. That's exactly what your political opponents, the BJP, is asking you. Address that point head on.
If the investigation agencies are doing the job right, we would finish the investigation in 2021 and we would not have this. They found no nefarious activity. And blaming Congress party today, who has been repeatedly raising the question to the government that they are taking a soft stance on the China and the border issue.
No, but ma'am, on one hand, you'd say, you know, we are raising questions about the government being soft on the Chinese, and on the other hand, you are seen to be, quote unquote, in some kind of alliance or in some kind of close situation or proximity with individuals who are running a Chinese propaganda or supporting certain news organization. So in some way, it runs counter to the narrative that the Congress party claims it has.
In view of national interest, we put national interest above any news channel. And we have, after 2014, there have been 18 bilateral meetings with Mr. Narendra Modi.
Expose that how Congress is involved in this nexus.
27 rounds
what
of
talking about, Ms. Girja. It is exposed now.
And they have not
partners in this I.N.D.I.A.
One at a time. Anilaji, coming to you after this. Coming to you
Now
after
it is
this.
exposed
Coming
what
to
you're
you
talking
after
about.
this.
I
Coming
think
to
you are not upright with the facts.
They
You do
had
not know what
taken
whole expose
the
is.
Narendra
That is why
Modi
you are
has
giving such
spoken.
layman excuses here.
You are taking a soft stance after having 18 bilateral meetings with Xi Jinping and 27 rounds of discussion on the border issue.
We keep on discussing.
We have not
No,
gone
no,
to
no.
the
One second. This
And
needs to be
and
streamlined,
acknowledging
not a
the
shouting
progress
match here.
he has
I request both of you.
We
Not
had
a shouting
each and
match
every
here.
nation in the world, whether we enjoy good relations with
Anila ji,
them or
pause
not.
for a second. Pause
But
for
tell
a
me how
second.
Rahul Gandhi and
Girija
his
ji,
political party, how they are
what is
involved
wrong? What is wrong
they are
with government
associated
having
with this,
bilateral meetings or any kind of
so-called
engagement
fake,
with the Chinese? Because
media.
there are already repeated incursions which have been reported along the LAC. So it's only good that at a diplomatic level or at various levels the government is engaging with the Chinese, or the suggestion is that there should be an all-out or open war. That's not the option, right?
No, I'm saying you're engaging in this discussion for
Yes.
what? Even we are still today at the status quo. We have not reached any conclusion in all the area that have been encroached by the Chinese. So we are completely against China.
You are
in the
completely
name of
against China, and every
and
Indian
sovereignty.
citizen
So
stands
we are
strong
not-
with
we
the
are not
national security issues with their government. All right, I want to bring in Anila Singh into the discussion. Anila ji, go ahead, make your point. Go ahead.
I think Ms. Girja should go and you should go back and you should check the history of Congress party with the China, right from Nehru ji till date, whether we talk about Rahul Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi, the way they have entertained China, this is deplorable, I can say. Thousands of kilometers of land which were gifted by Nehru ji to China. They never assured that the borders of the China and India, they should have some solid treaty in between the two nations. Now the present government has made beautiful infrastructure there. We have
Mr. Rajgopalan, what are your thoughts? The elephant in the room is that there are certain political parties here in this country which are running the agenda of the Chinese Communist Party. That's what BJP is arguing. Do you agree with that argument that there are political parties in this country which are national recognized political parties which will run the agenda of the Chinese, or perhaps this was one-off issue on which the Congress or the opposition was on the wrong side? Mr. Rajgopalan.
अनुषा जी, मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ, कांग्रेस राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन has taken direct money from China. What is the Congress answer to that? And second thing, Mr. Rahul Gandhi attended a party in Chinese embassy. He denied it. Later, the Chinese ambassador, ambassador in India, put out the photograph. So there is a contradiction in Congress. Congress should come, which is the mother of right to information. Why are they hiding the information? So this Rajiv Gandhi Foundation getting 15 crores should be openly deliberated now. It should come out with the clauses, on which clauses you took the 15 crores. So therefore, Rajiv Gandhi Foundation should come out clean. That is the reason why Union government income tax raided.
But sir, in this latest controversy, I presume Rajiv Gandhi Foundation is not involved. Of course, there are different set of questions which are pending for that particular foundation or organization to answer. Subject to investigation. How is it connected? How is it connected?
It is connected with NewsClick because of China is the common factor. China is the common factor. NewsClick, there is an email, 177 emails between Prakash Karat and that Singham. Also mentions about these few NGOs in India. So therefore, few journalists in India, few NGOs in India, that one of the NGOs, he may be also Mr. Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, because on 2008, August 8th, Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi signed the memorandum of understanding between Chinese party, CPC and AICC. What is the content? They must release it because you should not have a secret deals with foreign countries.
I have last 1 minute. I have last 1 minute on the show. It's only fair I give the Congress party a chance to respond. Girija, some very serious questions about the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation and the conduct of the Congress party. A quick response from you, please. Girija.
All these are wild allegations which are hollow, and instead of talking about the matter on hand, Mr. Anurag Thakur is busy making news conferences and having allegations on the opposition instead of working on the national interest. Please work on the national interest, and if you find any nefarious activity of the NewsClick, please go and do. And we as Congress party, we are not pro-China. The sovereignty of the country is of our prime importance for us. and we also respect the freedom of speech, but not in the nation interest.
You have not
So
answered the question head on, which I asked you repeatedly about NewsClick and the kind of support that was meted out to that organization. But with that, it's a wrap on this discussion. Allah Singh, Girija Shetkar and Rajgopalan, thank you all for joining us on the broadcast. Well, free speech, of course, is a well-protected constitutional right, but propaganda cannot be allowed to run amok. Well, with that, it's a wrap on Viewpoint. My colleague Shivani Gupta joins you with the Plain Speak.
Thanks a lot for that, and thanks to our viewers for staying with us. Thanks a lot for staying with us. Welcome. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. The 3-day marathon debate on the no confidence motion moved by the opposition bloc has begun in Lok Sabha today. The debate was initiated by Congress MP from Assam, Gaurav Gogoi, who attacked the centre in his opening speech. He questioned Prime Minister's silence over Manipur and asked why the PM hasn't visited the state yet. Earlier, Rahul Gandhi was supposed to start this debate proceedings, but just 5 minutes before, Gaurav Gogoi informed that he will do the same. Later, a Congress source has informed CNN News18 that Rahul Gandhi wants to speak only when the Prime Minister is in the House, and that's why Gaurav Gogoi instead initiated the proceedings. Now, BJP's Nishikant Dubey was the first speaker from the government side. He accused Congress of corruption, collaborating with China, and toppling several governments when they were in power.